The Russians have invented a high-speed train like a kite. It has both orbit and flight without consuming a drop of oil. It turns out that this kite string can deliver a steady stream of electricity to it. Since there is no need for gasoline, the fuselage is much lighter, so each one can carry 2,000 passengers and the speed can exceed 600 kilometers per hour. What do you think?
What is black noise?
Black noise?
Yeah.
Black noise is something that Burroughs got very interested in.
Intriguing.
Well, no, it's one facet of black noise is that everything, like a glass, if an opera singer hits a particular note, the vibrations are that of the metabolism of the glass and it cracks it, yeah? So black noise is the register within which you can crack a city or people, or it's a new controlled bomb. It's a noise bomb, in fact, which can destroy.
Is it a real thing? I mean, is it something that's actually somebody's experimenting with?
It was invented in France.
Could a tyrant use it to...
Well, until last year, you could buy the patent for it in the French patent office for about equivalent to $3-4.
And it would wipe out it's concentrated...
It depends how much money you put into it. I mean, a small one could probably kill about half the people, yeah, but a big one could destroy a city, or even more, I mean.
Here's a quote from 1909 in an archaic Masonic book on the origin of knowledge. The mysteries had their origin in the first great teachers and guides of humanity. These are called the Sons of Venus. They formed the nursery of adepts. The chief of these is known by many mystic names in old writings. In the early ages, occult knowledge was taught openly, as the sciences are taught in our colleges today. But in the course of time, many allowed their selfishness to rule, and so absurd their power that it became necessary to withhold such knowledge from the unworthy. This was the condition of religious affairs when the mysteries were necessarily established by the king-priests of the divine dynasties in the days of Atlantis.
So I was like, I'm the star of Transformers. Huge summer blockbuster, remember? I ain't gonna do no guest spot on According to Jim. This is bullshit. I gotta call back for Lost. Gotta get me a free trip to Hawaii, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Oh, you, Megatron.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Our lunch specials today. Oh, what are you guys doing here? It's me, Leader One, from the Challenge of the GoBots. Remember?
Challenge of the GoBots? Never even heard of that. What's that, one of those gay dance shows?
No, it was a regular show.
Oh, yeah, I remember. It was that rip-off of our show.
Actually, our show came out before your show did, so that makes you guys the rip-offs.
All right. Yeah, how's that working out for you?
The show got canceled like 20-something years ago, but me personally, I'm doing great. Yeah,
that's fascinating.
News, no one cares. Yesterday, some Chinese military tweeted, "Prepare for war." Period. No nothing. Left us hanging. I don't know what's more infuriating. My husband replies, K. K what? The cereal? I asked, what do you want for dinner? Every country be like, whoa, some shit's about to go down. India be like, let the karma do its thing. China, US, both can go. South Korea be like, we got the crazy Kim upstairs, Winnie the Big Poon to our left, World War II trauma to our right. Leave us alone. We just want a K-pop and Squid Game. Japan be like, you go, Nancy. Announce that shit. August 3rd. Here we go. Taiwan be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We didn't get the memo. Who invited Nancy? Who? Literally no one. We don't claim this energy.
It's the Roman circus. What does the emperor do when the people become restive, and when the people are asking questions, and when the people don't like the policies of the emperor? He sends them to the circus. He creates a circus. He builds a giant coliseum. And he begins to throw the Christians to the lions. And he has great chariot races and football games and basketball games, all to keep the idiots preoccupied with things that don't mean anything in the scheme of the entire world, so that they don't have the time to learn what the truth is, so they don't ever get smart enough to learn how they're being manipulated, so they don't ever question the emperor. That's why they pay a player on a football team or a baseball team $1 million or $2 million or $3 million a year. It is the Roman circus.
Let's talk about MK Ultra. This was a secret CIA brainwashing program that started in the 1950s. The CIA successfully figured out how to master the art of mind control. They experimented on sex workers, prisoners, people with terminal illness, and foster children. Many of the subjects had no idea that they were even part of this experiment. They would hypnotize and load these subjects with LSD to see the effects that they had on the mind. They would also torture these subjects nearly to death, which led to trauma-based mind controlling. They figured out that you could fracture a subject's mind so that they would have a split personality disorder. Then they would insert a new mind into the void. They could program you to be an assassin. This was their main objective. They wanted to control people who could kill on command. It's noted that this is...
What are some of the creepiest declassified documents made available to the public? Operation Northwoods. Basically, the US government was going to carry out attacks on its own people, as well as other military targets, and blame it on the Cuban government, so that the US would have a justified reason for going to war with Cuba. The plan involved blowing up US ships and even inciting acts of terrorism on the streets of America, killing civilians. It was backed by the DoD and Joint Chiefs of Staff, but thankfully, John Kennedy vetoed the idea. According to Adam Walensky, JFK's speechwriter and friend at the time, JFK left the meeting and said, "And we call ourselves the human race."
Do you think bombing innocent civilians from the sky to protect them from violence is not anarchy? Do you think lending money that doesn't exist, called credit, and if we don't pay them back plus interest, they can take our real wealth, our homes and our land and our businesses and stuff? Do you think that's not anarchy? People dying of hunger in a world of plenty is not anarchy. We have anarchy now. So when we expand our consciousness, we have anything but anarchy. We have intelligence, which is what we lack now.
The ancient Romans had a saying in their law that said, quote, "Let them who wish to be deceived, be deceived." Quite simply, the Roman law was, if you're so stupid to want to be deceived, go ahead. If you had any brains at all, you do your homework and take many, many days and hours, the kind of thing that Sir Lawrence Gardner does. Spend a lot of time researching, studying, and then you're going to find out, yes, what we're faced with in this world is consensus reality. It has very little to do with the real truth. The real truth, you better wake up and find out, has been around you all of your life. You just didn't see it.
This. You are not alone. This is the resistance. You are not alone. This is the resistance. You are not alone. This is the resistance.
Now, you don't know it yet, but you are listening to History in the Making while you are listening to this show.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man, yet as mortal as his own.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Censored by the mainstream media, the destroyer of fake news, and your host of The Rundown Live, Kristan T. Harris.
Welcome to another edition of the Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. I'm your host, Kristan T. Harris, broadcasting live on KGRA-DB, the world's largest digital broadcasting radio station out there. Make sure you check out KGRADB.com. We're also broadcasting live on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, anywhere where podcasts are found. You can find the Rundown Live. We've been around for about 10 years now. We're here with my lovely co-host, Don Vi Jr., the man, the myth, the legend. I'm having a stroke on the air. You can't make out complete sentences and more, as today's show is going to be great. We're excited about a lot of the things we're going to be talking about today. We got a lot of news and interesting subjects to dive into. As you guys see, our intro segment, TV Sucks, which has a bunch of different viewpoints of different people that are hot and trending across the internet. We always like to start it to let you guys know what's going on. And you know, yesterday was a great show. We had a great show. If you didn't check out yesterday's show, check it out. You can find us anywhere where podcasts are found. And we have our very own podcast, the Rundown Live podcast. And, you know, being a fan of horror movies, I see, you know, Ash versus the Evil Dead is one of those great TV series amongst anything. I see, whenever I see a listener that's in the chat that has a little icon as, Bruce Campbell, you know, the guy from Bubba Hotep, one of my favorite actors out there, you know, got to be like happy about that. Also, I want to shout out to Andy, Brandon, Erica, Ert, and people that are getting on the Facebook and YouTube chat. If you haven't found us, look up the Rundown Live Strike Zone. That's where our backup channel is. Our main channel will be up in September after we've cleared of all strikes, and then we control again and get strikes again. Can't we, Don?
That's right.
That's what we do here. We bring you guys news you won't hear anywhere else to feed your brain so you can grow out healthy ideas in that noggin of yours and root out that cognitive dissonance and your logical fallacies. Not saying that we're perfect, but we're here. We're independent. We're not affiliated with Republicans or Democrats. They're like two separate gangs, and we're just kind of here to bring you a lot of interesting and awesome news that is going around in the world today. And, you know, one of the things that I wanted to talk about right off the bat is this new Marvel movie that people are up in arms over. Captain Marvel. Like, what happened to the old Captain Marvel? We got a new one, and I'm okay with the new Captain Marvel, but I think he disintegrated at the end of, like, was it the last Avengers movie? And
Thanos. You mean Captain America?
Yeah, did I say Captain Marvel? I mean Captain America. I apologize.
Yeah.
I get these words messed up. As you guys can tell, I'm not the biggest comic geek, although I do own comic books. I love comic books. I got some great nostalgic ones that I do collect, but I get them mixed up. I don't know what it is. Some people get the words mixed up. Like in Wisconsin, we say dare instead of there and dat instead of that. And, you know, it's that Scotty accent I got, and I just mix everything up sometimes. So always do your own research. But back here live, and yeah, Captain America, man, I love comic books, but people are upset about the new Captain America, and it goes down to the title. And we touched on this yesterday. Like we kind of like blew a little dust off of it. We're like, and you know, we talked a little bit about it, but we're gonna dive into that. We're gonna dive into a lot of tech. We're gonna talk a little bit more about Taiwan and, you know, Nancy's visit there, which I guess Taiwan didn't even invite her. She's just like, my house, yeah, F you, China, you know. And what's going on there? China says prepare for war, and that's it. And people are like, you know, what's going on between the United States and China? And, you know, Russia's sitting back, Putin's popping popcorn. He's like, yeah, take each other out, you know?
Right. Because geopolitically, I mean, the whole situation with the U.S. and China, no matter what happens, as far as a geopolitical analysis is concerned, because, of course, as our regular viewers know, that's my forte, it's just a win for Russia. That's all it is. No matter what happens with the U.S. or China, it's a win for Russia, because regardless of whatever tensions happen there, they come out economically, you know, as the victor. They might even come out with some new allies. It all depends on the situation. But as I said yesterday, the whole thing with Taiwan is just absolutely stupid. I'll always take the side of the non-interventionalists. Stop screwing with other countries, leave them the hell alone. I know Ron Paul had some strong words to say about it yesterday on the Liberty Report. Haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but I know he had something to say about it as well. It's all crazy, brother.
Well, you know what this is really about. When I heard that the whole Taiwan thing is going on and Nancy Pelosi is heading there, it specifically made me think about a honeypot. You're like, what do you mean a honeypot? Well, it's a term that the CIA uses, and we know that thanks to one Edward Snowden, who essentially, put out some documents, and a honeypot is essentially what it is. You leave out a bowl of honey to attract bears. You want to attract something instead of going to look for it. You have it come to you. And how do you have it come to you? You lay out the honey. And so you want the war. You want China to start attacking Taiwan. Well, guess what? Nancy Pelosi, the one that had the Pope wash her feet. She, Pope Pelosi there, she goes on over to Taiwan, and they didn't even invite her. And they have like protests going on and extra security. And now China's like, yeah, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do extra training and eat extra. I don't know. And they're going to do mock war drills all around Taiwan because Nancy Pelosi is there. Like, okay, let's waste a lot of money and resources and get everyone all riled up. Like, is there going to, first of all, this is all about a typical phrase. This phrase is a phrase that was just used by Joe Biden, was used by Putin, was used by Barack Obama, was used by George Bush, which was used by I got dozens of quotes. I mean, almost 100 quotes going back. And H.G. Wells wrote a book titled and talked about this. And it wasn't a piece of fiction. It was nonfiction. It was called The New World Order. And that's why people and Marvel fans, and some of them are, especially on the left, the far left, right? Nothing's left or right anymore. It's far right, far left. We're far center. What does that mean? I don't know. Is there a far center? It's extra up or extra down. I don't know. These terms and these thought-terminating cliches that get used by the media and people out there. But the new Captain Marvel movie is called New World Order. And I'm going to put this on the screen, and people are freaking out over it. They're like, oh, my goodness, this is going to make conspiracy theories go. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy because we know it's a real thing, right?
Mm-hmm,
the New World Order is a legit thing. It's something that everyone's talking about. Now they want to change the name from New World Order to the Liberal World Order. And here this is, fans decry title, Captain America 4 for racist origins. And I want to tell you something. I had to think about, I'm like, why would somebody think the terminology that Joe Biden is using and Barack Hussein Obama uses, the New World Order, is racist? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because they don't want to admit that it's a real thing. This comes down to double downing on lies. It's like the QAnoners that are still alive, or the people that are still part of Antifa, even though it's been on a terrorist watch list, and the FBI is going after people that maintain and stay in those organizations and don't believe what's being told about them. They double down on these beliefs without recognizing on what it is, because they believe the lie and refuse to root out their own logical fallacies and cognitive dissonance. And one of those things that they want to shut people up about is the term and the idea of a new world order, because it would mean that, conspiracies are real. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is as ignorant to say that there are no conspiracies in the world. Obviously, anyone that says that there are no conspiracies, they believe the Russian collusion conspiracy, I'm sure. Also, is as ignorant as saying that everything is a conspiracy and people are talking about, right, Tartaria and flat earth. And it's okay. You can believe whatever you want. I'm just telling you, I have no problem with you believing what you want. But this show, we're about rooting out false ideas and connections amongst many things. And people can believe whatever they want. But I'm telling you, the idea that the New World Order is anti-Semitic is actually anti-Semitic because the conspiracy isn't anti-Semitic. To think that Jews are involved is anti-Semitic. And to be honest, when we're talking, and all the people I mentioned, none of them were of that nationality. The reason why is because they don't want people to talk about the idea. Why? Because this idea and its origins stem from a very controversial person, which we talked about yesterday. His name was Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati. His rules of globalism are almost identical photocopy of what the UN and the World Economic Forum and the Bilderbergers and the Bohemian Grovers and the Wolfsburg groups out there want in the world that we live in. In fact, he wrote a book called the Illuminati Manifesto, which a group which was later formed after the Illuminati dispersed in Germany, but was still alive in many other nations like France, called the League of the Just, created and went on and hired and paid a guy to not originate a work, but basically clean up a work. And his name was Karl Marx, and he made the Communist Manifesto. Therefore, communism, surprise, is Illuminati. So they're synonymous terms. And so basically what you're hearing here is Captain America, from my research, is taking on the Illuminati. And we don't want people to think adversarially of the New World Order, do we, bro?
Right. And even, historically speaking, the idea, or rather the concept, rather than the terminology of a new world order, of total global control, goes back way before even Adam Weishaupt. It was just Adam Weishaupt who was able to centralize all the ideas together and into the Illuminati. But even going back to, say, Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, all of these people had aspirations of controlling the entire world. And in some aspects, like Caesar or Khan or Alexander the Great, they did control most of the known world at that time. So it's a concept that has gone back as far as time, essentially, probably further back than recorded history. I mean, even Adolf Hitler, Napoleon Bonaparte, they all had aspirations of ruling the world. So to think that there aren't still people nowadays that have those same aspirations is just ignorant.
Well, I want to point out a few of them. This is a quote, I verified these quotes. These aren't quotes that are like, you go in there like, this was never said, there's no way to prove it, because there's a lot of those out there where the reporters wrote things down, there weren't recordings. This is H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells, do you know who H.G. Wells is? He's an author. He's a science fiction author, right? He's well known amongst many other things for great works of art and writing. And he wrote a book, and a piece of nonfiction called The New World Order. And he basically wrote out the roadmap. And it says, it is the system of nationalist individualism that has to go. We are living at the end of sovereign states, and the great struggle to evoke a Western world socialism. Contemporary governments may vanish. Countless people will hate the New World Order and will die protesting it. And he wrote this, probably in the 30s and the 40s, maybe before that. That's just one person talking about this. And so when we talk about individuals that are essentially tied to the idea of a New World Order, like, you wouldn't think anyone would admit to this evil plot, but there are people out there, and these are the corporatists of the world. Like the Rockefellers did a lot of stuff. They built New York, but not all the Rockefellers were good in their mind and set. Here's a quote. Bilderberg group member of the organization was founded by former Nazi Prince Bernhard. And by the way, the VP of Facebook just went to Bilderberg, just to give you an idea of and by the way, didn't you say Hitler wrote a book called New World Order? I'm pretty sure he did. And here it is. David Rockefeller. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interest of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, which there's nothing wrong with being an internationalist, and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will, a worldwide and one world government, right? That's what the New World Order is. If you will, if that's the charge, I stand guilty and I'm proud of it. Like individuals all throughout history have talked about this ideology. Here's another one for you. And this one is, again, these are old quotes because everyone can look up the videos of Obama, Clinton, Bush, Joe Biden saying the term New World Order. It's like a dog whistle that they use, like, woo, okay, I'm coming home, New World Order. It's like heaven for them. I don't know. We shall have world government, whether or not we like it. And the only question is whether the world government will be achieved by conquest or consent. And this quote is from 1950, a Senate hearing from February 17th discussing the New World Order. And this is the son of Paul Warburg. And if you don't know who Warburg is, he's the chief architect behind the Federal Reserve. His son's name was James Paul Warburg, and he was talking to and threatening Senate about how we will have a one world government or a new world order, and it will either be by conquest or consent. I mean, that doesn't sound like a nice, like good options now, does it? So what are we seeing in the world now with China? What are we seeing in the world with Russia? It is a new world order mentality. We have these two organizations that are world powers, right? World powers. And they're behind, basically establishing their own versions of the new world order, which is China or Russia or everything else. And I want to point this out here. John F. Hyland, he was the mayor of New York, went on to say this: the real menace of our republic is an invisible government. Bro, what does it mean to be invisible? That means you can't see it, which like a giant octopus sprawls its slimy legs over our cities, states the nations to depart from mere generalizations. Let me say that all the head of the octopus are the Rockefeller Standard Oil interests and small groups of powerful banking houses, generally referred to as international bankers. The little cadre of powerful international bankers virtually run the United States government for their own selfish purposes. They practically control both parties, write political platforms, make cat's paw and party leaders, use the leading men of private organizations, and resort to every device to place in nomination for high public office. Only such candidates as will be amenable to the dictates of the corporate big business. And, people have been warning about this for years, is my point. You have MacArthur Douglas. We have, here's the founder of the ACLU talking about this, about the New World Order. You can't make this up. And when people think ACLU, they think about a far left organization, right? I don't. I understand that they're there, obviously, to, in part to preserve liberties and freedoms. But here it is, the guy who found the ACLU. This is Felix Frankfurter. The real rulers in Washington are invisible. There's that invisible New World Order government and exercise power from behind the scenes. The real rulers of a nation are undiscoverable. And that was Chicago Tribune, Daily Tribune, April 25th, 1949, warning about the New World Order. The Supreme Court Justice Felix Frankfurter went on to found the ACLU. And again, we just could keep going on and on with these quotes, and I don't want to bore you for you all day.
It's fitting that they continue to use the word invisible. I know we got to head to break here in a second, but before we do, I just want to, it went fast. Right before we do, I just want to plug this, considering they can continue using the word invisible. If you want more concrete evidence about the New World Order, if you're just sort of dipping your toes into this subject, check out the documentary Invisible Empire and New World Order, defined by Jason Burmis. We've had Jason on the show. Fantastic.
We got to get him back on.
And hell yeah. And his documentary is absolutely fantastic. So definitely check that one out. With that being said, send us to break, brother.
Yeah, that being said, everyone, we're heading to break. We'll be back after these messages from our sponsors. You're listening to The Rundown live on KGRADB.com, band.video.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you've got time to binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna grow back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires with Sound the Alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Rundown Live, rundownlive.com, live on kgradb.com. If you're just joining us, you know that we've been talking Captain America and his new title for the fourth in the series, The New World Order. Captain America will battle the New World Order. I'm totally going to go see that. And they kind of know my target market. But I want to first out also give you guys a shout out. Where can you find us? Go to the rundownlive.com. We have a link tree. We're live on video as well. Rockfin, ROKFIN.com. If you haven't signed up for a Rockfin account, it's awesome. That's where we're at every day, 5 days a week, as well as kgradb.com, band.video, as well as Rumble. We have /Rumble. We're on BitChute. We're on Odyssey. YouTube is a little bit there, but I want to give a shout out. People are very happy to see us. If you guys didn't know, my personal account got banned on Facebook because I threatened to go cover Bohemian Grove, which, the New World Order doesn't exist, but that's where they hang out for 2 weeks on a summer retreat camp, and they piss in the woods and have, orgies and all that other fun stuff while doing a mock child sacrifice to Moloch. You can't make it up. And these are people that we elect in, famous people amongst our Yeah, elect, right? It's elected, you name it. Jennifer in the chat says, so glad you're here. And we got Ert Radio in the chat. What's up, Ert Radio? Brandon says, oh, okay, not sure if you're familiar, but it's nice to see familiar former showrunners still kicking it. We're not former. We didn't go anywhere. Where'd you go, bro? We've been here. We're here weekdays, 5 days a week. And if you don't know where to find us, the rundownlive.com, rundownlive.com, band.video, as well as what is that? KGRADB. That's our syndication. I see Andy Morrow talking AOC in the chat. That's what Alex Stein's favorite Latino booty. Look, there it is. Hey. That guy has no soul. It's all deep state stuff. People want to know, how is the New World Order ideology racist? Well, obviously, there's people that prey upon it, that there's a certain amount, a number of people of a certain ethnicity that are wealthy bankers. So the international bankers, of course, you can't talk bad about the international bankers unless you dub it the Federal Reserve. Like Occupy Wall Street then. Right. I mean, how is that not anti-Semitic then? Oh, don't talk about international. I didn't even look at their ethnicity. I just know that international bankers make monopoly money, and we pay them interest instead of printing our money and not paying interest. And they use it to hold it up against people and put us in debt, as well as cause inflation. Anyone else out there feeling inflation? 30% up. Oh, inflation is wild. And that's going to be one of the articles we're going to tie into. But, let's dive into this, man. What's going on with inflation? Are we going to be able to bounce back, and we're going to build back better? Or there's going to be more wars as we economically collapse things?
Well, who knows, man? I mean, with all the crazy inflation going on, it's sort of an up and down. I mean, of course, we have the administration right now. We've seen over the past 2 years, they love to change the definitions of words to fit their agenda. This sort of great reset agenda, the post-truth. Orwell was an optimist. I actually saw a tweet about that the other day.
Facts, he was an optimist. He didn't expect the New World Order to be like this,
Right. I saw a tweet about it the other day, because now they've changed the definition of recession to fit their definition. When conventionally, if you understand economics, 2/4 of negative GDP, that is the basic definition of a recession, and that is what we've currently entered into. But they've decided to go ahead and change the definition. I saw a great piece from Reason, the libertarian media, that was talking about this just this morning. Haven't had a chance to read it yet, so we figure we're going to go ahead and pull it up on the show right here, add it to the screen. And it's kind of sort of talking about how the latest bill that has been introduced into Congress, the Inflation Reduction Act, and it's talking about how it's not actually going to induce inflation. It says it'll actually hike taxes, including on Americans earning less than $200,000 annually. It says complicated pieces of legislation rarely live. Let's see names scrawled across the first page. And that's a very important observation right out of the gate, because, of course, we know this pretty much any time that they put forth a bill. The name of the bill is essentially the antithesis of what it's actually going to do. The USA Freedom Act reduced our freedom. The Patriot Act was very opposite of patriotic. So anything that, the CARES Act was very uncaring for the majority of American citizens. So it says, but even by that familiar standard, the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 is going to disappoint anyone excited by the title. The bill, introduced last week after a long-awaited deal was struck between Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and moderate Senator Joe Manchin, was pitched as a way to lower costs for consumers while also reducing the federal budget deficit and spending billions on environmental incentives meant to combat climate change. You know, that thing we talk about on the show all the time, that in 2009, the leaked emails from the United Nations proved that they were manipulating climate data to fraudulently set up this narrative of this terrible scenario, this anthropogenic global warming, when in the 70s it was called global cooling. Yeah, that whole thing. Says the impact on inflation is statistically indistinguishable from zero, concluded the Penn-Wharton budget model, a number crunching policy center based at the University of Pennsylvania. In fact, if the bill's passage had any impact on inflation in the short term, it would be to increase it very slightly until 2024, according to the group's preliminary analysis released on Friday.
So what we're hearing here is I don't get how this is how is this supposed to reduce inflation? like give me something good, like something I can look at and be like, yeah, tax-free zones. People who live in the city, they're not going to pay taxes till everything bounces back. That makes sense to me. That's money in my wallet, Or how about this, bro? How about credit relief? People who has had their credit scores effed up and everything else, they get an additional 200-point boost so they can get the loans and make the payments that they need to make in order to get ahead. How about that? That sounds like a great idea. Once we start talking interest rates and, lowering, and they're talking about hiking housing interest rates right now, like amongst other things, like I just don't see it. What I see is that America is on life support, and we have Dracula there. He's like, oh, look at those veins. Look at those veins. And he's sitting at the Federal Reserve there printing money, and he's just looking while blood tears out of his eyes, and he's all, that's essentially what's happening is we're being vampirically siphoned off of and destroyed slowly. And COVID-19, isn't it like it's just a coincidence that it all lines up with the UN Agenda 21 conspiracy, which is now a reality. It wasn't a conspiracy because we got to 2021 and yeah, it happened. We had the New World Order. I hope you guys are enjoying your 2-year free trial of it. I know the Canadians had enough, and a lot of other people have had enough, and we tried to be cool like the Canadians, but now they're keeping those convoy Canadians in jail while letting out child molesters because, that's what you do. You go after your political enemies, and I guess they're friends with those, what are they, map people or whatever they call them, whatever John Podesta's handkerchief had, according to WikiLeaks, the map. I can see is going somewhere. If you don't know what map is, it's minor attracted person, a very technical term. And it's not hate speech to say that people that are predatory and groomers are bad. Like, this is what we're going at. They're being predatory and they're grooming us for this increased inflation, but this is being a slow demolition of our economy, a slow demolition. Well, they roll out all this cool tech and they call the world, because that's what's, they need the world. They need the world. COVID didn't turn out quite like they had hoped. I think they hoped that more people died. And I know that sounds like an awful thing to say, but when you talk to these people or you listen to these people talk who are elitists that are often associated with these ideologies of the New World Order, the Adam Weishaupt utopianism, it's always like there's too many people in the world. And then our first answer isn't like, we could colonize other planets. We could learn how to put nutrients back in the ground. We could figure out how to deal with the No, it's like depopulation needs to happen, which is a nice word for murdering people or limiting their life, or, not so violent, reproductive services, which, they could have kept those because of Roe versus Wade if liberals decided they wanted to codify it that way for years and years. But no, they didn't. They needed to get divided and get people out there to elect them. So they needed the Roe versus Wade loopholes there. And now look what happened. Conservatives, I don't know, for some reason, they got some cojongas and they sent it back to the States, which it should have really been. And now everyone's all up in arms. And I'm all about my body, my choice. Like, listen, I get it. And I'm there with vaccination, my body, my choice. I'm not going to sway one way or another based on groupthink, which a lot of people do. But this is what's happening. We're being thrown like that William Cooper segment in the beginning of the show, where he's like, the emperor when he has no clothes and people are starting to figure out what's really going on in the world. You know what happens? You fill the Colosseum. You have wars. You do, where are we at? We're at China and Taiwan and Nancy Pelosi going over there not being invited, and China tweet. Like, is that how we do wars now? We just tweet? Did Donald Trump set that standard? Like, we're going to just tweet wars. We're going to have Twitter wars.
Perhaps.
Digital, virtual worlds.
But the point essentially remains the same, is that, these people in charge, these New World Order architects, they hate the average person. And I think you were right in the fact that they wanted more people to die, because that's essentially their doctrine. They have a doctrine of hate. That's why I always say that if you really want to combat the New World Order, you have to combat it with love and kindness, because that's, they're predicated upon hate and chaos and distortion and anger and fear and all that sort of crazy shit. So you have to combat it with the opposite. It's the only way you actually defeat these people. But
we got to raise consciousness, right? That's what you're talking about.
That too.
Like treating people with respect and love and listening to people. Like, I was in a Quora forum and this individual asked a question. The question is how do you get a conspiracy theorist to shut up? And I'm like, I'll answer it. He's not going to like the answer. And it was like, how do you get he goes, how do you get anti-vaxxers, science deniers, and conspiracy theorists to shut up? And so I responded. I said, first of all, two of those terms are thought-terminating cliches, meaning they're not meant to have an open dialogue. To get an answer. In fact, science deniers is a term used by scientific consensus, and consensus isn't science, and science isn't consensus. They use it to pad the back wallets of big pharma and corporatists, amongst other things, Monsanto, GMO, and we saw it with, like you mentioned earlier, global warming, which became climate change after the WikiLeaks showed that they were trying to prove the Earth was getting warmer, when in fact they jerry-rigged it to look so, because the Earth was I don't know if the increases weren't as dramatic as they liked in order to get justification for the draconian laws that they wanted to pass. I mean, that's the whole issue with Maurice Strong and him getting his funding from the Rothschilds, amongst other things. And just prior was global cooling and global warming. Well, if you have to watch out what you eat because of global warming, and what you drive and where you can go and what you like, everything is global warming nowadays, like breathing and cows farting and like it's like literally they control the food, they control what you eat. You can't eat meat. How much water you use. You can't use water because you are using their resources. To them, we are the useless eaters. And this goes back to what we saw with Jordan Maxwell. I saw somebody in chat's like, I don't like Maxwell. I knew Maxwell. He had good intentions. Like, people don't like him. That's cool. But what he did say there does resonate, that in Rome, they had a rule that if you were dumb enough to get conned because you didn't want to do the research, well, no, that's your fault. You know, fool me once, fool me twice, whatever George Bush said and messed up. You know, that's essentially what it is. And that's the world that we live in. We live by the land of the law, or you live by the land of the sea. That's why the banks own and run commerce, because it's liquid assets, because a bank diverges currency. It's all there in etymology. And that's why we know that's the law of the land, and then there's the law of the sea. And that's what we're seeing here is people are just too dumb and they're being conned, and people are starting to come around. I think that's why they needed the internet censorship more so than anything before. And they're like, well, Alex Jones, well, who cares what, like, do you not believe in freedom of speech? And they're like, well, it's a private organization, but he didn't do anything wrong. All he did is he confronted some New World Order clowns, and then they had him banned from Facebook and then Twitter, and then now he can't even make money. They literally stole a livelihood. And you know what bankers laugh about is making companies go bankrupt that they don't like. And that's what they did with Alex Jones, except they digitally assassinated him. And you know who the first digital, is that a crime? Everything else digitally is a crime. You can share something and go to jail. But if you digitally assassinate the president, Donald Trump, that's okay. Let's do that. Yeah.
Right. And the funniest thing is, with that whole argument, it's a private company, they can do what they want. No, it's not. Shut up. Do the research. Again, if you're living in Rome and you're too stupid to do the research, please. We already know for a fact, Facebook, In-Q-Tel, look it up. It is a CIA cutout. We know for a fact that the Twitter is full of spooks from the CIA. We know for a fact that Google has also heavy ties to DARPA. All of these institutions, these private businesses are not private. They are very heavily tied to government and government think tanks. They literally do the censorship for the government by proxy. It's merely a way of insulation. So their government masters can have them commit acts of censorship and control the narrative without incurring the wrath of blatant attacks on the First Amendment. Of course, we know they don't have a problem with blatant attacks on the First Amendment, but something of such a scale would certainly incur some backlash. So how do you protect yourself from it? Well, you prop up all these companies and you get yourself in bed with all of these companies that are supposedly private, and then you have them and you put all your people inside of it, so that way they will then tow the narrative, and then you can have the narrative be controlled however which way you want, because now you've established the narrative, the idea that it's a private company and they can do what they want, when it's not. It's directly tied to federal government and the intelligence community. Matter of fact, Mint Press News has been doing Alan McLeod specifically, their writer, has been doing an incredible amount of series, series recently going over Facebook, Twitter, Google, and all of these other, big tech companies that are infested with intelligence community assets. The most recent one, which we're going to bring up here in a moment, is talking about how Facebook's censors, all the censors that they use to fight the disinformation out of Ukraine. Well, as it turns out, they're all tied to government agencies. They're all tied to NATO. They're all tied to the National Endowment for Democracy, which is a very open cutout for the CIA, where even their founder said, what we do today is what the CIA did privately 20 years ago. Even before that, as I said, has been doing a great series with it. The previous articles talking about how Facebook and Google, Twitter, they're all infested with feds, CIA, NSA, FBI. It's insane. But let's go ahead and dive into this, brother.
Yeah, well, first of all, my question is who decides what is fake news and what isn't? What is misinformation? What isn't? And what is disinformation? Who are these people? Who is, this is the Wizard of Oz. Who's the guy behind the curtain? And what are they doing? Who are they? Where do they get their info, and how do they verify it? Because let's be honest, they seem to be wrong more times than not. And yet people drink the Kool-Aid. They're like, go put this powder in there, and we're gonna drink it and mix it all up, and but this goes back to there are dangers in doing your own research, right, Don? We saw it with the QAnon movement. So basically, by creating the QAnon movement, who was responsible? It was the fact checkers. They're the ones that are specifically responsible for creating the major misinformation campaigns by QAnon. And you're like, no, what do you mean, Kriston? What I'm saying is they forced everyone off of a platform where there were gatekeepers like Kriston T. Harris, we're the far center, because, far right, far left, far center people. And we would be out there and we'd call BS. We'd say, like, with Ukraine, oh boy, the Free Thought Project exposed this, or the Rundown Live exposed that, or the anti-media exposed this, or InfoWars exposed that. And people would be able to get both sides of the information and make rational ideas. Instead, you pushed everyone off to a 8 or 4chan, board where you get, a baker who takes crumbs and builds a cake. And I guess if that cake isn't cooked all the way, it's not really a cake, just like Bill Burr says. So, it's just one of those things where people are like, they don't get it. They literally refuse to fact check. And then all of a sudden they think there's 500,000 indictments and Obama and Tom Hanks are walking around with bracelets and everything is Illuminati. And they don't really understand, and they see the BS versus what it really is. And let's be honest, there's a little bit of truth to some of the conspiracies. And it's definitely, when it came to the QAnon, they used a lot of truth to hook, line, sinker people and a lot of BS. And I'm not saying if you believe it, like Jeffrey Epstein obviously was real. He was the center of a large part of that conspiracy. And so things like that are genuine. So they want you to throw the baby without the bathwater. And we get that because, the entire family would use the same bath, and they would start with the father, go to the wife, and then the children, and the baby would get in there last, and the water would be so dirty that when you threw out the water, you didn't want to throw it out with the baby. That's where that comes from. But here's what we have. We have fact checkers responsible for everyone being forced off of media outlets, including Facebook and Twitter. They're the ones that decide what is true and what is not, but they're in majority often wrong. Now we get the answer on why that is, because Facebook must enter into a contract with government agencies or government contractors or contractors that work for the government, which are used subliminally or hiddenly to control the social engineering aspect of media. And this is exactly why you need to get off these ghettos like Facebook and YouTube. Unfortunately, so many of us are trained like Pavlov's dogs to go ding, ding, ding. Okay, we got our YouTube alarm. We're not going to go to the rundownlive.com to find the Rumble link. We're going to go to YouTube. And right now, many of you are watching on YouTube, and I'm not hating you for that. We love you guys all because you can get truth anywhere. But a lot of you are on Facebook. That's another one. Nobody, like, we got people on Rockfin right now. We got people on Rumble right now. Everyone's watching us on different platforms. But be conscious of what you support. I have to check myself every time I go to Google. DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. And now even that, but this is what we're talking about. This is Operation Mockingbird on crack. Essentially, the government is dictating what is true and what is not true. Is that what I'm getting from this, Don?
Yes, that's always been the case. They've always attempted to dictate what is and isn't true, and even we've seen this so often with during the last 2 years of the COVID-19 84 era, as I've taken to calling it along with many other people. I actually got that term from Dan Dix, so shout out to Dan Dix, Press for Truth.
Yeah, I miss Dan Dix. We got to get him back on too. He's out there in Canada there. Hey, he's like just up north from us. I'm in Wisconsin, so maybe I'll go knock on his door, even though Canada is pretty far from here.
Right.
We'll give him a text.
But yeah, that's what we've been seeing, is that the so-called fact checkers over and over again are actually the largest disseminators of disinformation, despite the fact that that's their stated mission statement, is that they're there to fight disinformation, when in reality they're some of the greatest purveyors of it. Just throughout this war, we've seen multiple just very blatant acts of disinformation coming from Ukrainian and Western media. Snake Island, for example, those are the 13 brave Ukrainians that sacrificed their lives and were killed by a Russian warship, when in reality they were taken prisoner, and it was proven Russian media actually debunked it. So who's the untrustworthy one? Not saying you should blindly trust Russian state media. Never trust any state. Yeah. Never trust any state media. I'm just saying that was factual, and who told the truth about it? RT. Just going to put that out there. But, we've seen it with the Holocaust memorial that they said was absolutely destroyed. Not true. The Ghost of Kiev, which they recently admitted was a propaganda campaign. So over and over again, we saw all these crazy lies, the lies about the bombings of the maternity hospitals. I know the Gray Zone, Max Blumenthal, they've done a fantastic job exposing a lot of these lies, as well as Patrick Lancaster, who deserves more recognition than he gets. He's over there in the Donbass region covering all the crimes against humanity that the Ukrainian military is still committing against the civilians of the People's Republic of Donetsk and Luhansk. So,
check this out. I remember in 2013 already, Mike and I, and this is where we're talking about gatekeepers, when they said ISIS is destroying Nimrod statues and Assyrian ancient artifacts. And we looked at it and they showed them destroying them all, but there was rebar in there. I'm like, when did they start using rebar? For cement? And by far, we could tell that that's fake, because if they're ancient structures and they're destroying them and they have rebar in there, they're probably not ancient. They didn't use it back in the day. They didn't have metal bars going, and we looked into it, and sure as can be, it came out that all those essentially those statues were fake statues, and so were the videos. It was all propaganda. We knew during the whole ISIS thing that they had green screens, and a lot of those beheading videos that came out with when McCain's laptop was hacked, that they were green screening beheading videos because they wanted to get the American public riled up for war. And now that's what we're seeing in the world around us. But back to this article, and I know we got a commercial break, but I wanted to touch base on this article. This is what it has to say. It's a very interesting piece on Mint Press News. They do a great job. I think they're out of Minneapolis. Most of the fact-checking organizations Facebook has partnered with to monitor and regulate information about Ukraine are directly funded by the U.S. government. So it's not, the porn star at Snopes anymore, either through the U.S. Embassy or via Notorious National Endowment for Democracy, or NED. In light of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, an information war as bitter as the ground fighting has erupted, and Meta, Facebook's official name, announced it had partnered with 9 organizations to help it sort out fact from fiction for Ukraine and Ukrainian and Russian and other European users. These 9 organizations are Stop Fake, Vox Check, Fact Check Georgia, Demagogue, Myth Detector, Lead Stories, and several others. To reduce the spread of misinformation and provide more reliable information to users, we partnered with independent third-party fact-checkers globally. The Silicon Valley giant wrote, adding Facebook's independent third-party fact-checkers are all certified by the International Fact-Checking Network. What? There's an international fact-checking network? Why aren't we running that? Because we're right 99% of the time, bro. We got to get a new job. That being said, guys, we'll be back. Don't go anywhere. Share the live feed. Let your friends know. Tune in weekdays, Rundown Live, kgradb.com, band.video, and you can always find a way to watch us and listen to us audio-wise. We have the audio app. We have video app. Go check out KGRADB, band.video, the rundownlive.com. We'll be back in just a few after these commercials.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you've got time to binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna grow back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires, but sound the alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Now, you don't know it yet, but you are listening to History in the Making while you are listening to this show.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man, yet as mortal as his own.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Censored by the mainstream media, the destroyer of fake news, and your host of the Rundown Live, Tristan T. Harris.
And we're back from commercial break on KGRADB.com, rundownlive.com, therundownlive.com. You can find us on Twitter, hashtag rundownlive, and Tristan T. Harris and Don Vi Jr. Maybe we'll get, we got to get some quick banners for that so you guys know how to find us. But if you don't know how to find us, you can find us on therundownlive.com, band.video, and all the audio episodes, as well as video, is cataloged at kgradb.com. That's our digital broadcasting syndication. As you guys know, nobody does the AM FM radio. You're driving, it's like, and you're getting out of the range of the radio. Why not just get us on the app? The KGRA DB app, they have like a 3-day free trial. Go check them out. Also, if you want to support us, we have to plug ourselves. We have free t-shirt. Oh, we don't have free t-shirts. We have t-shirts at therundownlive.com, right? And they are sexy. These shirts are one of the, like, my pride, because, you know, we had them, we had it designed. I came up with the concept, and I had an artist put them together, and I just got to show you guys this. If you guys want to support us, pick up a shirt. They're only $25. They're pretty hot. We have them in, they're all in male sizes because we didn't sell too many of the female, although a lot of females prefer to wear the male sizes. Here they are. You can get them. They got the UFO, all-seeing UFO boombox pyramid, and it's got the 80s style boombox as a pyramid, and it says, "Feed your brain, Rundown Live." They're $25. Go to the Rundown Live, pick them up. Free shipping right now. It supports us. This podcast isn't free. It isn't cheap. We need your help to make things happen and keep the wheels running, as we've been here now 10 years and running, battling the fake news. And you know what? The fact checkers that work for the government just do as they're told, I guess. That's what I'm getting from this article. And we were talking about this before we went to break, but most of the fact-checking organizations is exactly what we in America never wanted. We wanted a free press. Well, it's not a free press if it's controlled by the government. And so their biggest issue they had in 2015 and 2016 was the people that were on the fake news list. And we're going to talk about this for a second, because the most prominent ones that were there were obviously the rundownlive.com, because we were literally listed by professors who were upset because we were science deniers and thought GMOs caused cancer. Well, guess what? They do turn on the TV. There's a settlement commercial on every channel. They were anti-science because of that, and were science deniers. And, in all reality, you were just wrong, and you just can't admit it. So we ended up on that list, as well as InfoWars, Alex Jones, Natural News, which is Mike Adams, obviously, was on the list. Do you remember the website Above Top Secret? Is that even around anymore?
I do. I never really cared for them much.
But every once in a while we would post on there.
Yeah, every once in a while they would have a diamond amongst a bunch of coals. So
that would be a website we'd be like, I understand why that would make the fake news list, because anyone can post anything, and there's really like no trail record on anything else that they post. It's like Before It's News, who Lisa Haven, who we've had on this program. People can post things and just about anything, and there's a lot of trash on there. But at the same time, because they have a free form, there's a lot of valuable information. They were on the list, and there was
the Free Thought Project was on the
Free
list.
Thought Project was on the list.
I mean, we had millions of followers. I mean, of course, I say we, but this was before I joined on board with them. But they had millions of followers. They were one of the fastest growing independent news outlets in the world, literally getting millions of hits every single week. And as soon as the Facebook purge happened, it killed it, and now you look at any alternative media page, Free Thought Project, my page, Break the Matrix, The Rundown Live. And if you know anything about working behind the scenes with social media management and looking at algorithms, we're getting like 0.5% of our followers. I mean, just my page, Break the Matrix, I can look at the analytics any day of the week. I have about 4,600 some odd followers, and I'll be lucky if a post will be seen by 30 of them. That's about like 0.8. What is that? Like something along those lines. A very minuscule amount of our following. So the purge just killed it. And the ironic thing about it is, as we said, these people, these fact checkers and these social media companies, they're the ones guilty of disinformation. They're the purveyors of the worst disinformation out there.
But we're the ones that are held accountable and that were hurt for it. Not to mention, the Rundown Live was competing. We were ahead of local news stations, including, Fox and CS58. Our Alexa score for online score, and Alex Jones, we were all like top viewed websites. And what happened is that they all ganged up and they wanted control of the information because the BS was not settling. People were able to find out the truth. So what do? You go after somebody, and you go after their personality, who they are. You go and destroy the person's reputation. That's what we saw when they were putting out thousands of documents against Alex Jones. And listen, I love Alex Jones, and there's things I dislike about him, just like all my friends. There's things I love and I don't like. Nobody is perfect, but what I can say is the guy's been way more right than the majority of the mainstream media, and people want to turn it off because they don't get it. They haven't researched it. They haven't found it and found out that, sure, the guy made mistakes. Sure, the guy isn't perfect, but his journalists, that he had over there, they were some of the best independent journalists in the world. And he still receives millions upon millions of views. Our videos get tens of thousands of views on Band.video. This episode itself will get probably 10,000 views easy on Band.video. Listen, the guy built an empire, and there's a lot of other people that were doing the same thing, blogging and writing and everything else. And I even saved the Alexa scores and made a little meme, and I was hoping to bring it up here and show you guys, but I don't have it. So for a different show, I'll save it for time's sake. But the main point of what we are talking about here is they destroyed it in order to build to build the government machine that now you no longer get to decide what is real news because of satire websites, basically. Like
the Ministry of Truth, the de facto Ministry of Truth. And we even recently saw them attempt to establish a real Ministry of Truth, the Department of Homeland Security's Disinformation Governance Board that, thank the gods, failed miserably, and Nina Jankowicz had to step down and resign from her position because of how terribly it failed. So that's a small victory we should definitely celebrate. But just the fact that they attempted to do such a thing in the first place just tells you how Orwellian and dystopian and tyrannical these people really are, that they think that they can just get away with something like that. It's because they are getting away with it in the covert sphere when it comes to these fact checkers that are just government propagandists.
Well, and that's like That's not the entire gist of it. As where we were the majority and the world was heading towards a very libertarian Ron Paul world, because that's in reality when it comes down to people's hearts. That is the majority, the dominating principle. Do whatever the hell you want. Just don't violate my freedoms. Don't violate my personal liberties, and I don't care what you do. Now it's come down to, well, we care about what you say, and what you say hurts my feelings. It didn't come, and that's really that's really what it's about. That's where it's going. And here it is. And this is just right on there. So this is where we're having, where not only do they have the Ministry of Truth for the internet, right? What we're seeing here, this is from Gray Zone, and I want to tie this into something. Bellingcat, this is Bellingcat, right? They're the ones that are, online investigators and big things. But it turns out majority of the people in Bellingcat are Antifa. And guess what? Guess who got government contractors to support and fund them? Bellingcat. And guess who is going after all these January 6ers, the sedition hunters? Guess who they take their directive from? Well, Bellingcat. So basically, the government is funding Antifa to go after Proud Boys and their political enemies. And that should be scary to even people in Antifa, because if they're willing to give Antifa that power, you better believe they're willing to give the Proud Boys that power in order to go after their political enemies. And that's terrifying.
Yeah, and I'm actually really glad that you brought up the, if we could jump back to that Gray Zone piece really quickly, I'm really glad you brought that up, because if we go to the Gray Zone homepage, they actually, Aaron Mate, who wrote this brilliant article, just recently came out with another article, and it ties into exactly what we were talking about right there. NATO-backed network of Syria dirty war propagandists identified. It's right there at the top. Well, there was,
it was at the top.
Yeah, it was at the top, and it has that scrolling thing. There you go. There it is, right there. Because essentially what has happened is that a few months ago, The Guardian and a number of these other outlets, Bellingcat being one of them, the BBC, the National Endowment for Democracy, the Syria Campaign, they put out this list of Syrian war propagandists. So the people that are spreading Russian disinformation, discrediting the Western narrative of the what's happening in Syria, primarily with regard to the OPCW scandal. And a lot of people might not know this, but there is a huge scandal that is and has been going on with the OPCW, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, as a few years ago, a couple of whistleblowers, more than a couple actually, whistleblowers came out from the OPCW with documents that proved that their superiors, higher ranking members within the OPCW, committed data fraud and manipulated information to fit the Western narrative of what happened in Douma, the chemical attack that happened in Douma, Syria. And they manipulated the data to make it appear as though the assertion that Bashar al-Assad gassed his own people was accurate. When these whistleblowers came out, they said, no, that's not what happened at all. We didn't find any evidence that Assad gassed his own people. We didn't find any evidence for any of these claims. But, then, of course, the Bellingcats and the Guardians and the BBCs of the world all came out and they started saying, oh, these people are Russian propagandists, and this Aaron Mate, who's fantastic. I sent him an email many months ago to try to get him on the show, never heard back, but he's a really busy guy. He probably gets hundreds of emails every day, so maybe I'll try again sometime. But they said, oh, this Aaron Mate, he is the biggest purveyor of disinformation, when in reality, they offered no evidence whatsoever to discredit any of his claims, whereas he has whistleblowers, he has documents, he has testimony from the United Nations, he has all this evidence proving his claims. So who are the real purveyors of disinformation? These guys, the Guardian, the Bellingcats, the BBCs, and all of these state-funded propagandists, and that's precisely what this article goes into. Is essentially Aaron's.
Whoa, wait a second. Wait, I got to stop you there. You're telling me the guy in the Quora forum that said how to shut up a conspiracy theorist probably gets his news from people disseminating conspiracy theories?
That's right.
But I'm the conspiracy theorist. I don't get it, bro. That's narcissistic, isn't it? Isn't that what they call that? That reflection? That's almost sociopathic, psychopathic. When you blame somebody else for what you're doing, and some people don't realize that they're actually doing it because they believe in science, but they don't understand the human element corrupts everything absolutely. It just does. We just, for some reason, we have this evil part of us that wants to make money and misinform people. Like literally, these individuals all took probably hush money to report whatever they report. Their editor is a Mockingbird dude who edits and chops something, and if it's a legit news story, it gets the buzzsaw. Like our buddy Sean Stone, Oliver Stone's kid, said, he has a show called Buzzsaw, and that's what it was about. Is how things that reach the buzzsaw are things they don't want to get out. It's like buying. Like I've seen this where I've covered events and mainstream media wanted to buy my video just to shelve it so it couldn't be used as an adversarial piece against a political agenda. And that's not what I do. I got raw video. I don't care if I expose Republicans or Democrats. It's about the truth and the facts. And maybe I do lean a little centric. I'm far center, like I mentioned. Got far right, far left, far center. That's what I am. And people find that's why they ban me off of Facebook. They don't know what to do. They can't find anything wrong with what I'm doing or saying because it's right. And then they just go, oh, by the way, we're just going to suspend your account because you exposed the fact that the VP from Facebook went to Nazi meetings called Bilderberg, and that's not a good thing,
Right.
But it's okay. The rest of the government, the former CIA heads go and FBI, and it doesn't matter. Those are all good people. The FBI and CIA, they never do anything wrong. Northwoods and MK Ultra and Tuskegee, and we can just go on and on. Iran Contra, and there is no drone program, and all those other fun things. But here we have now we know. Here we got Antifa fronted Bellingcat with people in there that are ultra far leftists. I don't know what the next thing is. How far left you can go. Like, is there we got to come up with a new word for these far left and far right? Everything is far left and far right, though. There's no more Republicans or Democrats. You're far left or far right. And I guess
it's word games. Like I always say, it's word games.
Redefining definitions.
Yeah, exactly. Word games and redefining definitions and putting labels on people, because that's what all the left right. I know I'm a broken record when I say it, but that's what all the left right, man versus woman, black versus white, gay versus straight, all of these arbitrary labels. They're just meant to keep you divided against your fellow man, so you're not focused on the real enemy, that is the predator class, the people who abuse and exploit innocent people. Those are the only real enemies, people who abuse and exploit innocent people. And I saw Andy Morrow's comment, BBC is state funded, and that's actually something I wanted to touch on really quick because it's also mentioned in Aaron's article.
Bro, BBC has me do correspondence for them sometimes. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
Isn't it ironic? Isn't it ironic that they have on Twitter and on Facebook, you'll get these labels. Oh, this person might be state-affiliated media, Russian state-affiliated media, Iranian state-affiliated media, Chinese state-affiliated media. You got that with Rachel Blevins, who's a correspondent over at RT. She used to write for us over at the Free Thought Project. Fantastic journalist. Love Rachel. You get that with Lee Camp, who used to host Redacted Tonight on RT, and they're all labeled,
Abby Martin.
Abby Martin, too. Yeah. Oh,
Tyler Ventura.
Russian state affiliated media, and they've all said, the Russian state doesn't tell me a damn thing to say. This is all me. I'm just allowed on their network.
Yeah, they all lost their jobs, by the way, thanks to our government. And again, they were more centric to what we were. And I think that's why they got the job from RTs, because they knew they were counter propagandists, because that's really what we are. We are here to prevent the propaganda and try to find out what the truth and what most of the truth is. I'm not saying we're right all the time. Do your own research. But what we've been talking about here, and I don't get the chance to give this speech too often, but I'm going to take a minute or two here and express for our listeners, when we talk about switching definitions of words, that is the intent and purpose of the far left. That's the magic behind words. The reason why we look at symbols, right? And giving symbols meaning isn't called wording. It's called to cast a spell. It is literally to spell in arcane sense grammars and laws, what magic work by. And if you stitch those symbols together, it's called a curse, as in cursive. It's not by chance that these terms and these symbols are used in this manner, because if you can switch what the definition of words are, you've just legitimately casted a spell on people, and you've triggered them subliminally to act or react to certain things in a way, like New World Order. Like all of a sudden say, "Oh, it's anti-Semitic." No, there's nothing anti-Semitic about it. Thinking that it's anti-Semitic is anti-Semitic, because it's not. So therefore, it's wild. It's like they want those triggers. It's like back in the day when Seattle was banned banning, or Portland, one of those two, was banning brown paper bags because it's racist, because somebody decided to make and change the definition. It's like global warming. They changed the definition and they tried to make it mean both things. But climate change, it doesn't mean global warming. It means that climate gets warmer and colder. Why did it change? Where was the science paper that said this is why we changed it from global warming and climate change? It was called WikiLeaks, by the way, that paper. And so like when we talk about the magic behind words and casting a spell and putting symbols together to have a certain meaning, or the word and wording, and even the term logos, as in log and lodge, you start to find out the true meaning of the magic behind words. Like, what is the curse? Why do they call it spelling? What does it mean to let her, or let, or allow? It's interesting because your body is going to accept the information and the meaning. That's why when you could write things down, it was considered you're writing down a spell. And that's why there's magic with the K and the magic with the C. So for those out there that don't know, now you know. But I want to tell you that the BBC, Bellingcat, they use magic with the C. They're sitting there and they're casting spells on you. And it's like Hollywood. The Hollywood is where you get the magic wand. Magic wand is made from the holly tree or the holly bush. That's why you call it Hollywood, because we dance to the trends and the tunes of Hollywood. And you want to know why they want to go after people, calling pedos, bad people, as hate crimes? Because it all comes from Hollywood. All those guys, the Weinsteins and the Epsteins, and the Maxwells of the world, like Ghislaine Maxwell, who basically got moved to a high quality prison, and where she gets to work out and have TV and yoga and everything else. She's such a good person.
Right. I was going to bring that up. I wasn't sure if we covered that on the show, but I just wanted to hit on that briefly for the people who didn't know. Yeah. Ghislaine Maxwell, who already, we called it during the Maxwell trial when Kristan was there in New York. Called it already that she was going to get, essentially a slap on the wrist. So she's already got this, incredibly light sentence, 15 to 20 years, with good behavior. She'll probably be out in 10, if we're being honest, maybe less than that. Who knows? Depends on how you grease those palms. But she's been transferred down to, is essentially Club Fed down in Tallahassee, Florida. It's this,
dance parties.
Yeah, this swanky prison. You get this nice little dormitory living housing unit instead of a jail cell. You get movies, you got music, TV, yoga, indoor and outdoor activities. She's living it up, man. We called it, because I called it from the very beginning. I said, she's gonna get a slap on the wrist. There's not like they're gonna throw her under the bus and be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna sacrifice her like Epstein, because Epstein was on her string, man. People need to get that straight. She was the one connected to Robert Maxwell, the Mossad agent. She is the one with all the intelligence community ties. They're not going to off her like they did Jeffrey, man. She's living it up in Tallahassee.
Well, what's crazy is when I confronted her sister and I got robbed the next day and they stole just laptop, I confronted her about her job in the World Economic Forum and the Bilderbergers and transhumanism, and the fact that Addie Ads, who we've had on the show and who writes for us occasionally, contributor, he actually asked her about how her father stole the atomic bomb secrets for Israel using Maxwell's sister's software, which our government, Pentagon, contracted out to use. And, so basically they're all Mossad agents. And so basically, grooming young children and, as young as 8 and helping out a pedophile and being part of that. We don't want to be, we want to be more conscious about how people's sexual orientation is. But here's what it says. This
and
is
for people, really quick, right before you jump into that, just for the people who aren't that well versed or knowledgeable about the Mossad and intelligence connections with the Epstein thing, just look up Whitney Webb's reports. Just look up Whitney Webb Epstein. You'll see her website, Unlimited Hangout, and she did a few things on Mint Press News. So just look those up if you really want to dive into the history of the connections of Mossad and the intelligence agencies. Sorry, brother, just had to plug that for those that didn't know. Go ahead.
Right on. This is an article on where is Ghislaine Maxwell now inside the convicted sex offender's life and present. Not just a sex offender, child molester, and underage, going underage girls as young as 8 sometimes. Maybe that's just a sex offense, but it's funny how they're so kind. On December 29, 2021, where I was at, Ghislaine Maxwell is found guilty of multiple federal sex trafficking charges stemming from her personal ties with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. But it's funny that she's not considered a convicted pedophile now. Following her guilty conviction, Maxwell was incarcerated for 6 months in the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York as she awaited sentencing. A judge ruled on Tuesday, June 28th, that the disgraced socialite would serve 20 years, only 20 years less than R. Kelly, behind bars a month later. Maxwell was transferred to Federal Correctional Institute, Tallahassee, in New York. So it's a minimum security facility, where no one's going to beat her up for being a pedo. Is a mixed gender prison where she can get some TLC, little boom, on the side, because that's what that's about. A gender prison that first opened its doors in 1939 is considered to be a fairly relaxed location, offering a broad array of extracurricular activities, including, yoga, and educational classes and arts. She can get educated and she can do artwork and arts and crafts. She gets arts and crafts time. That's chill. The facility also allows inmates the option to participate in intramural softball teams. She can play, let's go watch her play softball. Can get tickets for this game? They're probably making money. The Federal Bureau of Prisons said in a statement that the embattled convicted sex trafficker was transferred due to several reasons, including the prison's security levels in consideration on any other program or medical related needs Maxwell may have throughout her 20-year sentence. The low security facility is also home to Jalen Delshawn Young, who was sentenced to serve 12 years behind bar in 2016 after pleading guilty to terrorism-related charges connected with her attempts to join the military group, the government's ISIS group, the side CIA group to ISIS, they all got these cool Egyptian names like Nimrod and ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And Young is currently scheduled to be released on October 28th. But, previously reported, Maxwell will have access to an assortment of name brand hygiene and skin products. She gets the bougie soap. Oh man, she can get Pantene shampoo. She can have Secret deodorant and Dove bar soap. Because those ones don't lather, so you don't have to worry about dropping those soaps. She will also be able to buy other personal items such as Band-Aids, chapstick, lotion, baby powder from the commissary, recreational items available for purchase include, and she's got unlimited money, headphones, watches, MP3 players. Although the commissary has assorted snacks for sale, the embattled sex trafficker is said to have meager options when it comes to prison meal times, as Maxwell keeps a vegan diet. The first night of her incarceration, the FCI Tallahassee report revealed she was given the option of eating chicken cheesesteak or a 3-bean salad, which I'm guessing had 3 beans in it. Well, good for her. She deserves 3-bean salad. Following her prison sentence, Maxwell will not be allowed to go near minor children unless she gets formal approval from the U.S. Probation Office. Quote, "It is hard for me to address the court after hearing the pain and anguish based on the statements we have heard today. I want to acknowledge their suffering," the 60-year-old said at her sentencing hearing. "It is the greatest regret of my life that I ever met Jeffrey Epstein. I believe Jeffrey Epstein was a manipulative, cunning, and controlling man who lived profoundly compartmentalized life and fooled all those in his orbit." Yeah, that's why he's hanging out with Bill Gates all the time. And, Bill Clinton and everyone else that has like a rap sheet. Excuse me. Same thing.
When it comes to them, same thing.
That's it. That being said, when we come back, we're going to talk electric scarf and scarfing. No, not exactly what you think it is, but how would you feel about putting on a scarf and it being able to tell you what your emotions are like or warning other people's? Maybe we should get all girls a mood ring. Mood scarf. We'll be back after these messages from our sponsors.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you've got time to binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna grow back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires with Sound the Alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Tune in to the Rundown Live weekdays on KGRA Radio. Kristan T. Harris, Don Vi Jr. Visit therundownlive.com. Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. I'm your host, Kristan T. Harris. We're live here on KGRADB.com, the world's largest digital distribution radio station out there. If you haven't checked out KGRADB, they have everything for your conspiracy heart. That's right. They got the UFOs over there. They got the Sasquatches playing the saxophone, and they got all that other stuff that's going on there. So check out KGRADB. We're the morning news guys, as well as John B. Wells, former host of Coast to Coast AM, does Caravan in Midnight. He's the anchor in the evening. He anchors it down, amongst other things. But I wanted to talk about this electric scarf thing, but then I forgot there's another major story we got to dive into before any of that. But if you guys are just joining us now, today we've been talking about the Captain America movie by Marvel being titled The New World Order. People freaking out about that. We've been talking about how majority of the fact checkers are government fact checkers, and they're responsible for the misinformation because they don't want you to know the truth. They want you to feel a certain way. They want you to put the little Ukrainian flag on your profile, and they're willing to do it because there's elitists out there that believe in positive and negative energy and channeling that stuff. And that's where it really comes down to, what do you do with your aura and everything else? So that being said, we were talking about how the government, also is funding Antifa through Bandcamp and these sedition hunters, and basically how the government used Antifa to hunt all their January 6 people. But this ties right into this. Like Ghislaine Maxwell living in a beautiful prison there, having conjugal visits properly, probably. Who knows? Maybe they have some 18-year-old girls that just got in there. Maybe she'll, dive into that. Who knows? Anyways, that being said, when we were talking about misinformation and them banning credible independent journalists to stop preventing real information getting out, we have a website and group that was equally persecuted, and that's Zero Hedge. And Zero Hedge has a very interesting article written by a man with the pseudonym of Tyler Durden. Isn't Tyler Durden the guy from Fight Club? I could be wrong. Is he? Yeah, that's
yeah.
I mean, I get it. So, anyways, Zero Hedge has been on the top of Drudge Report time and time out, time and again, just like InfoWars. And the one day we were on there for an hour before our website crashed, we learned our lesson. Anyways, the article is right on par when we were talking about the feds deciding what is real and what is not, and basically federal contractors, the government is doing either not directly but through corporatism has
by
selected
proxy.
Yeah, they're proxy. Basically, they're doing what the government wants, but they're doing it legally in a roundabouts way, which is still corrupt. And what we want to talk about here is basically this article. I'm going to put on the screen here, and that is whistleblowers. FBI is manipulating domestic terrorism data to fit the Joe Biden narrative. And I never knew agencies did that. I'm just kidding. Comey, Hillary Clinton in the emails. People, not just Bannon should be in jail, but I think Hillary Clinton should be jail, and George Bush. And, let's just put all the war criminals in jail. We'll put Obama in jail. We'll start putting in, all those Russian collusion conspiracy believers in jail. I mean, sorry, I didn't mean that. Concentration camp. No, that's the anti-vaxxers. This is the world is messed up. It's the upside down world we live in. And the FBI is manipulating definitions of terms. Again, the magic behind words. Multiple FBI whistleblowers have stepped forward to the House of Republicans. Why is it they're going to the Republicans? Why don't they go to the Democrats, bro? I'm a far center guy. I'm not far right, far left. I'm far center, and maybe far side. I like those comics back in the day. But maybe that's what we should call ourselves. We're not far right, we're far side. But multiple FBI whistleblowers have stepped forward now, and they talked to the GOP, claims that the agency's leadership has been pressuring agents to artificially pad domestic terrorism data by inappropriately classing cases to meet the quotes. And I'm guessing, we saw, what was it, that Governor Whitmer thing, which was all FBI thought of and brought up. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe in the far future we find out the whole the Bundy Ranch situation with the was Finicum being shot by the feds. That was all at some point orchestrated. All these things. I wouldn't.
Oh, we know that. We know that already. I remember back when that was going on, the Oregon standoff. I actually reported on it. I think this is even before I created my page, Break the Matrix. I think it was just when I was commentating and analyzing news myself. There were reports that came out, and I believe it was InfoWars that broke this story. There were undercover feds who were dressing up as militiamen and dressing up as though that they were a part of the Bundys and the other occupying forces, and they were going into the towns and they were causing all sorts of shit in the bars and then in the stores and whatnot, and kicking up a whole bunch of trouble with the locals to make the locals turn against the people that were occupying the Mauler Wildlife Refuge. And they turned out to be feds who were just dressing up, and they were undercover, and they were trying to kick up a bunch of trouble and whatnot. So we already know for a fact that was the case. Unmute your mic, brother.
But people have family members that work for the FBI. I mean, we've all met FBI members, I'm sure, people that are related to somebody, and they would never partake in this. It must be a very compartmentalized group of people. As we found out, the people in the Whitmer case, they thought that was the case to break their careers. And by the way, the individuals that were responsible for the whole Whitmer fake terrorist attack and kidnapping attack are the ones responsible for the persecution of January 6th and the whole court case there, huh? Hey, you can't make this shit up. It literally smells. Not only that, the government, it isn't like they're doing this to go after both Antifa and the Proud Boys. Maybe they do have people literally the FBI probably has done zero to little research on Antifa, the whole Portland, because they get paid to do a job. And they're told to do a job and to avoid certain things and do certain things. And this does not surprise me. And here it says, from a recent protected disclosures, we have learned that the FBI officials are pressuring agents to reclassify cases of domestic violent extremism, even if the cases do not meet the criteria for such a classification, wrote Rep. Jim Jordan of Ohio in Wednesday's letter to the FBI Director Christopher Wray. Given the narrative pushed by the Biden administration that domestic violent extremism is the greatest threat facing our country, the revelation that the FBI needs to artificially pad domestic terrorism data is scandalism. So if that's the number one threat, why do they have to pad the data, make it fake? Like like this reminds me of the whole climate gate thing in 2009 that WikiLeaks did. If climate change and global warming is happening, why do you have to fudge the data? Because it's fake. It's all fake. Everything's fake, bro. The government's fake. The social media is fake. The news is fake. You know, just everything. Hollywood's fake. People, what they believe is fake. You know, the world around us is fake. And I'm not trying to be a skeptic because you're like the skeptic in the world always say everything's fake, but it's somewhere in between. But I'm telling you, what a majority of many people out there that believe, like in the video we saw, people believe things and they believe it because they've been duped. And here it is by House Judiciary, GOP. It says whistleblowers, FBI leadership pressuring agents to artificially pad domestic terrorism data because there is none. Why? Because they want to go after their political adversaries because the New World Order wants them to.
Yeah, and this is something that we've talked about for a long time, that I specifically have talked about, and I even brought this up when I covered this on Break the Matrix a couple of days ago when I shared it. This falls right in line with the new war on domestic terror. We've talked about it a lot. This is something that the Biden administration, even before the inauguration, has been planning. This is the next step of the American empire. And it's not just a Biden thing or a Democrat thing. It is, of course, as George W. Bush and the Democrats worked together to initiate the global war on terror, which also coincided with egregious, exponentially expanses of the American domestic police state. We're entering the new version of that. We're entering the new war on domestic terror, and they've been doing this a lot over the past year, however long Biden's been in office, and they've been talking about it even before inauguration, in the few months before he was inaugurated. And as a matter of fact, unless you want to dive further into this Zero Hedge piece, I have a short piece here from the Rutherford Institute, John Whitehead, all the way back in January 2021, excuse me, where it specifically talks about this new war on domestic terror that we constantly warn of, which is essentially, we don't even really need to go into it, but the cliff notes of it is that, it sort of breaks down and points out the facts that this new war on domestic terror is being created, and exactly why it's being created, and how they're creating a war on you, a war on the American people, how you're going to be guilty until proven innocent. And it's just another way of expanding the draconian authoritarian police state.
Yeah. This is where we're going with things, bro. I'm looking at this article. This should terrify everyone, like everyone out there, no matter what your political beliefs are, that a group of individuals needs to pad numbers in order to make up fake statistics. Like, why would you need to do this? And it's not real. It's fake.
Yeah. And remember, they've been attempting to classify anybody as domestic terrorists. For even, going back to the 2012 election, if you happen to have a Ron Paul bumper sticker, remember you're classified as a potential domestic terrorist. That's back in 2012. And even just recently, I'm not sure if there's an article about it. I actually forgot about it until just now, but I remember we were talking about it in the Free Thought Project amongst ourselves this morning. Me, Matt, and Jason, and I know a buddy of mine shared it on Facebook last night, but it was really late. But apparently DHS or FBI or somebody, they've put out, every once in a while, they'll put out their bulletins, and like, these symbols are associated with hate groups and militant extremist groups. And, what's up there? The one thing that caught my eye was the ANCAP flag, the anarcho-capitalists, the black and yellow, basically the leave me alone and I'll leave you alone flag. Oh yeah, the non-aggression principle is very extremists, so anything that promotes liberty, anything that promotes freedom, they throw it right on in there with the domestic extremists, with the white supremacists, the neo-Nazis that they're allowing to go fight alongside Ukrainian neo-Nazis, and they're going to come right back here and cause a whole bunch of trouble. They throw it all together and lump it all together because the real purpose behind all of this stuff is a war on the people, to criminalize freedom, to criminalize liberty, and any form of dissent that goes against the establishment status quo, anything that goes against the New World Order that we've been talking about the entire show here.
I think the answer to all this misinformation by government is basically what Kyle Rittenhouse is doing. And I don't know if you know that this is in the news, but we're going to put this on the screen. And by the way, Kyle Rittenhouse, take care of your mom, man. I heard you bought this new F-150 $80,000 truck, but yet you ain't taking care of your mom's, who was, I don't know your relationship, but I was at the court day every day for 3 weeks, and she was in there balling. There wasn't a day she missed that she wasn't in there when her son was on trial. But here it is. And that's wait, I didn't put it on the screen for you. I apologize. Here it is. This is breaking news. Kyle Rittenhouse settles with The View. Guess for how much? The View settles with Rittenhouse for calling him a, racist, prejudiced, white supremacist, all which was fake, because, they're trying to generalize those terms. If you're white, you're a white nationalist. If you're white, you must be and if you're a white nationalist, well, then that must mean you're a white supremacist. So therefore, inherently, all white people are bad. Right. And like that's the thing. That's the triggers. That's the magic behind the words. And that's so right. None of that is true. And here, check this out. The View paid $22 million. It says ABC's The View will compose a written apology. Oh, they're going to write apology. We got to get Kyle on the show. Kyle Rittenhouse and his mother, Wendy Rittenhouse, and deliver it along with a check for $22 million. The Rittenhouse's spokesperson, Joe Barron, says the settlement didn't take long and wasn't very difficult. Apparently, the show's producers have been eager to settle the matter to get them away from all the bad press in the past few months. Story after story about Whoopi Goldberg's suspensions and firings, along with reports of more than 11 lawsuits filed, have the show's team wondering if it's worth it at all. According to our records, the bulk of attacks against The View came from the sites pretending to be right-wing propaganda, which actually they're leftist trolls making fun of Trump supporters. The far left has to pretend to be far right because they'll just cosplayers there. None of the lawsuits, reflecting. You're going to they're not doing enough bad stuff, so we got to convince everyone that they're doing bad stuff. None of the lawsuits have been true so far, but this one definitely is, we promise. The apology must include the words, Kyle Rittenhouse isn't a murderer, at least 4 times, according to a friend, and inside knowledge of several other matters. What I don't know is why the math is before the science, said the source, and what that even means. Our editors report that if the math is before the science, most likely none of it will make any sense, meaning Rittenhouse is definitely coming out ahead of this one. But like Facebook getting sued, they don't care about dishing out the money, because I'm sure the government's going to just dish it out for now. Maybe we just need to, maybe people who are emotionally unstable, like at The View, they should just get some of these electronic scarves. Did you see this? You gave me this article, didn't you? Connected scarves. Scarf measures the emotions of football fans.
Yeah, I saw this. I just happened to be scrolling through, just trying to find news stories the other night, and I saw this originally I saw it from Man City, which is a website for Manchester City over there in England. They were talking about the connected scarf, and I was like, well, that sounds something that's right up our alley. So I tried to pull it up yesterday, and I couldn't find it, but today I was able to find a story about it, and I just think it's really fascinating. They've created these scarves, these electronic scarves or something or other, and it's able to pick
smart
up your
scarf.
emotions. Yeah, it's a smart scarf. That's the word for
scarves. Anything smart that tracks you, but it says the Manchester City Smart Scarf. And these are a few places that are emotional as football stadiums. And if you know anything about UK soccer, they get in fights over games and after games. It's like Green Bay Packers, some wife will beat her husband after a Packers loss, or throw a brick at them or something, hit them with a shovel. It's the same thing there. And so maybe they want to monitor this instead of going after people and putting them in jail for sharing other people's social media posts. They're gonna this is probably already if they got this now, they had it 20 years ago. Just get every girl a mood ring. You already know that's the end solution here. I'm just kidding. Men too. They're equally as emotional. We got our what do they call them? The guy liner dudes. The idea behind the wearable is simple. For strong emotions such as joy or excitement, our body reacts. They now want to measure this change more precisely. With the help of a smart scarf called Connected Scarf, Manchester City is therefore working with the US IT giant Cisco and Octagon UK, among other things. The companies want to examine and evaluate the number of football fans and its physical effects. The findings will be used to bring fans closer to the game than ever before. Get your smart scarf on. But you know what I'm really interested in, bro?
What's that?
We talked a little bit yesterday and we didn't mention this, but Best Buy is rolling out virtual salesmen, right? The little robot in the wheel. And, we had Roxy yesterday on the show. She is a virtual influencer that has 130,000 fans on Instagram. And, maybe you'll go on some dating site and you'll have a virtual girl and then you'll go to the date and she'll roll up on her little robot with a little display and be like, "Hi, I'm Roxy." And you'll be like, "Oh, I was just catfished by a robot," but essentially what we have now is Best Buy, they're going to do these virtual people, but a technology that we've been covering for 10 years that a lot of people kind of don't really report on is 3D printing. And I bring this up because they have now got what's called super high-speed 3D printers. I'm talking about you go to Best Buy and you need a cell phone case. You go in there and you pick out the design and it prints it out for you type stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so, I think it's neat. I mean, the idea is impressive. It's going to replace, the need for some manufacturing. You're going to just put in your rubber ink and it'll print out a cell phone case. And I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening at Best Buy right now, but that's just my imagination saying if I was an entrepreneur, I'd develop a 3D printing machine like when you go to the zoo and you get your wax monkey from the quarter machine, that they'll go ahead and print you out a cell phone case. Researchers at Rutgers University and the University of Louisville have developed a fused filament fabrication system that is capable of using multiple nozzles to rapidly 3D print different areas at the same part on a single gantry. It's in all our video games, bro. People who play Call of Duty, you go to the 3D printer to get your gun, right? And it's there. It's you have to wait 20 seconds for it, but it makes the gun. And we're getting closer and closer to that. It won't be long till we'll be able to be let's just 3D print this building and it'll be done in a day. They're already making buildings in a day.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that we actually bring this up because we had a story that I thought was hilarious on the Free Thought Project yesterday. So you know how they have these gun buybacks in these super anti-gun places like California and whatnot. Yeah. They're oh yeah, bring us your guns and we'll give you these gift cards and whatnot. So this absolute Chad decided he was going to 3D print or take a box of 3D printed obsolete parts, old lowers that he doesn't need and just a whole bunch of crap that essentially doesn't work. It's just 3D printed gun parts that he printed off however long ago. And he went and turned it in. This guy got $10K for plastic for crap that he prints it off with his computer.
Hey man, that'd be a business. Just go 3D print guns and turn that into the government to get money.
Well, right, and they weren't even full guns. They were literally 3D printed gun parts like lowers and receivers and crap like that.
Just keep printing them, bro. Keep making that money.
I thought it was hilarious. This is a great way to troll the government. The guy got $10K for it. I mean, good on him.
Well, it's like somebody bringing pennies to pay a ticket at the police station. I agree with that too. That one guy had a dump truck of pennies or something. He paid something off. Here it is. Israeli startup Savor Eat serves up 3D printed kosher pork patties and turkey burgers. The truth is, a lot of us may already be eating 3D printed food then we don't know about. Maybe especially if you eat the vegan stuff there. But what's your opinion? Would you eat 3D printed food if it tasted better, if it looks better, and it didn't come out of a cow? It came out of like a pork cartridge.
Well, I
First of
mean,
all,
it all depends on how it's made. Like, like what is it made of? Like, just because it's 3D printed doesn't mean that it can't be organic. I mean, so maybe I don't know.
Fair.
I would have to know what the ingredients are and the manufacturing process. I would have to be familiar with that, and then I could make my decision.
Okay, so you would trust the food, but would you trust a 3D, or would you trust a robot doctor to do a surgery from you?
No.
Because here it is, remote surgery robot to be tested abroad, International Space Station. So essentially what I've been researching in the medical field, because they're getting a lot of these advancements, 3D holographic x-rays and interesting stuff and tech like that. One of the things is remote surgeries are real popular, where the doctor sits there with the Xbox gamepad, not literally, but just for their imagination out there, and operates on you like you're playing an Operation game back in the day, except more advanced, and they do the surgery. And here they're talking about having a robot just do the surgery, much like in Star Trek. Here it is, a miniature robot designed to help conduct remote surgeries could be tested on board an International Space Station before the end of 2024. So you're saying no, you would not do that, huh?
No, not because just with the idea of human surgery is bad enough, and I can see the potential upsides of it. It could potentially eliminate the possibility of human error, but it also raises the possibility of machine error, which in a situation as delicate as surgery, so you're going in there for brain surgery or heart
all
surgery,
of a sudden there's a disconnection. You're in space, and it's like
Right.
there's a cloud, and you're like, oh, I'm open, cut me up. Anyways,
Right,
here's like back on a 3D printed subject as we're running down these articles. These shoes use 3D printed fabric to make shoes. Look at these shoes. Like, I mean, that's kind of cool. Like, you want to make some but is this the shoe of the future? It probably costs 15 cents to make, and someone's going
Right.
to have.
I'll be honest. I really think that 3D printing is the way to go for a lot of our, sustainable development. Actual good, not the UN sustainable
nice
development
UN Agenda 21.
BS. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, not the UN Sustainable Development Agenda 21 BS, but actual, real sustainable development that helps people. You mentioned the 3D printed houses. You mentioned the 3D printed clothing like this. It's very cheap to manufacture in that way, and it could actually help a lot of people, as far as I'm concerned. So I think it's really interesting. I think it's something that it's one of those Family Guy moments where you're like, why aren't we funding this? Maybe put a little more effort into that. It might actually be something positive that we can
How about 3D printed bones for implants?
Oh, that sounds pretty interesting too.
I'm not, listen, we talk dystopia all the time, but there's good things about technology, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
One of them is this whole new, now this one, we talk bad about CRISPR gene editing all the time, like making animal human hybrids and taking away diseases out of people. But this is an article that, as you get older, you get high blood pressure. People suffer from high blood pressure, and they believe CRISPR. They have a CRISPR cure for high cholesterol enters its first human trial. It could permanently lower cholesterol and permanently reduce your risk of having a heart attack. I wonder if that's what the Rockefellers and all these evil people who live to 100 that never die from cancer, right? The Bill Gates of the world. This is what they're going in and getting 20 or 30 years ago. A quarter of Americans have high cholesterol or are taking statins to keep it down. A new gene therapy using CRISPR is designed to permanently deactivate a gene in the liver that controls the production of PCSK9, a protein that prevents the removal of excess cholesterol from the body. In monkey trials, the treatment reduced LDL cholesterol by 70% in just 2 weeks. Now, the question is Big Bad Pharma going to allow this cure? Because there's no money in cures.
Probably not. No. When it comes to big pharma, I was having this conversation just the other day. There's no money. I mean, of course, they have a depopulation agenda, but when it comes to the corporatists that want to make money off it, there's no money in dead people and there's no money in healthy people, but there's a bunch load of money. I almost slipped up there. There's a bunch load of money in keeping people really sick and keeping them taking your medicines for the rest of their lives.
Well, we're all going to have to go down to Mexico with Sam Chichoa down there and get our CRISPR gene editing on, because unfortunately some places are freer for medical healing and, things that actually work. And you have to leave America because they don't want you to live here. But that being said, guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to today's broadcast. Do us a favor. Go to the Rundown Live, right? Go there. If you guys have emails, send us email, show tips at the Rundown Live. Go to our checkout on the right-hand side, or scroll all the way to the bottom of your phone. Check out our t-shirts, support us. It's only $25. I know it sounds like a lot, but we get these things out same day, and they're hot. They're sexy, and no, she does not come with it, and neither does he. All right. And I would call Ghislaine Maxwell if you thought they were. So that being said, check it out, the Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. You can find this episode on anywhere podcasts are held, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, and our home base also at band.video, home to Alex Jones, and of course, KGRA-DB, home to John B. Wells in the evening. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Share your live link, share it with your friends, download the app on your friend's phone, let them know. To find out where we are live, you can just go to the Rundown Live, hit the link tree. Just about every link except for our Strike Zone YouTube is on there because we don't want to give easy access to our trolls. Go find it. You guys stay blessed. Do something wonderful and nice for somebody, especially somebody you don't believe and agree with politically. It's okay to have differences and be friends with people that you may not agree with. And that's how we become more centric. And from the far center, you're listening to Kristan T. Harris and the Rundown Live with my guest host, who's here every day, like clockwork, Don Vi Jr. He's not my guest host. He is the co-host of the show. So I don't, I'm used to saying guest host. So that being said, we'll see you guys tomorrow on the Rundown Live.